And I have to respect that that's how you get it done. And it helped me to get along with him better and to understand him better and appreciate where he's coming from better.
Wow.
It was huge.
That would be amazing for, I mean, think about the teachers.
Yeah.
You know, you're a teacher now, but imagine in the schools if they did that and all the teachers knew you take this test before you start every grade and the teachers know how you react and how you respond. It'd make their job a whole lot easier. Because if you're dealing with your son, that's one person, and you took the test and like, aha, it makes it easier.
Right.
But as a teacher, you sometimes have, I'd say, a minimum of 10 people. And so if you don't know how they, you know, you could, it would make your, I think it would make your year a whole lot easier. Everybody would have higher grades, you know, because there's different ways that they get stuff done. And, you know, some teachers, I think, they may teach only one way their whole career because they don't know, you know, and say if everybody's got, you could just use it on the students that are trailing behind in the subject because you want to help them out. You know, maybe you didn't have to do it. I mean, I just think this is a great idea. They need to get it in all the schools. I mean, because it would help out so much. If I would have known this, like I could have, that I was going into broadcasting, I could have did a TV show at my school. They had a TV show, but I didn't do it. I mean, I kind of wanted to do it, but I can't. But just something that validated this is what I needed to do would have helped out tremendously. And so is this like nationwide? Can they?
Oh gosh, it's worldwide.
It's worldwide, okay.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, this is based on 30 years of research, and every single person I've met who's taken the assessment has always been like, yeah, it's right, it's dead on. And that's remarkable to get those kind of results. You know, you sit and you take this assessment, it takes like 40 minutes maybe on the computer, asks you a bunch of questions, and from that, they're able to nail it. Like, this is who you are, you know, and it's really mind-boggling because even the people who've taken it multiple times, it may change a little bit, like number 1 becomes number 2 or whatever, but it's basically usually the same because who you are is who you are and your core is who you are. And usually also, you know, the top 10, you know, 6 through 10 can be just as powerful as 1 through 5. It's just they have to somehow, you know, put a number to it somehow, you know. So there could be a slight difference between 5 and 6, say, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So, you know, you can't get totally hung up on like, oh, I'm only these, because you're not. Like I said earlier, everybody's got all 34 of them, but in various degrees.
Right.
You know, and also what's great about it is once you're aware, okay, this is how I think and this is how I operate, and this is how I'm naturally going to do something, you can make it stronger. You can develop it, right? You can learn to develop it. You can also temper it. You can also figure out what else you've got that leverages it to, you know, to balance you out. You know, they talk about the raw form of it and the mature form of it. There's one called command, for example.
Okay.
And command is a person that you want in an emergency room or at a fire because they're like, this house is on fire, get out, move it, we're going to the left. I don't care what anybody says, this is what we're doing, right?
Right.
But as a child, in that raw form of command, that person was probably a bully or a bossy or, you know, arrogant or irritating or whatever, right? But as an adult, after they've learned to hone that in, develop it, they could be an amazing charismatic leader. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you develop, it develops.
Right. My microphone was not, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I know we're not recording on this.
No, this
but I like hearing, okay, we're good. But so now, you were going over the part where the fireman and the command, and I just want to get my thoughts back because I kind of
Right, but I was just saying, you know, because there's that raw form of it, you know, and then there's the more developed form of it, the mature form.
Right.
So once you're aware of what your strengths are, you can also see how that plays out. You can also see how to develop them, how to make them stronger.
Right. So basically, you have a raw form of it, and you're naturally good at it.
Right.
But if you never know what it is and never cultivate it, you can never get it to maturity.
Right. Well, they call it talents. I've been calling it strengths, but they're actually called talents.
Right.
And they're developed into strengths once you apply knowledge and experience to them. So I haven't been using the right terminology.
You're fine.
Sorry,
hey,
Cal.
the podcast is okay. You corrected it. Yeah.
But anyway, once you develop those talents, you know, you just can fly.
Right.
You know, you can just soar because you're working from your best possible self.
Wow.
Which I think is pretty amazing. And imagine if the whole world did that.
Yes, that's what I mean. I think I was saying schools, but I think everybody right now who's listening to this, if you got $10, if you don't, go borrow it. You need to find out what your strengths are. I mean, because it's all about getting that raw talent that you have to a maturity level. And if you never get it to that maturity level, you can only go so far.
Right. And to be aware of it, because if you're aware of what you're not so good at versus what you're really good at, and then, like I said, leverage it.
Right.
You know, that's also really important to success.
Right.
You know, in life, or getting along with somebody.
Yeah,
Like I said,
definitely.
that's why they give it to. That's why they use it in corporations, because they're trying to build teams, right?
Right.
So go back to my idea before, if you have a team where everybody is in the right role for them.
Oh, and their talents are mature.
And they're skyrocketing then.
Yes.
You know, because everybody's doing what they're best at and they're letting them run with it.
Yes.
The other thing is to be aware of how, like I said with my son, you know, for example, I'm a maximizer. My number one talent is maximizer. So I'm somebody who sees something, I see, you know, the potential in people. That's part of my whole makeup. And I want it to be the best it can possibly be. I want to take something that's average and make it the best. So there's some perfectionism in there, but a maximizer cannot stand to see wasted potential. So I see my son and I'm like, wow, you know, I'm also the one who's like, if you're gonna do it, it better be right. You better do your best.
Yes.
You know, if you're gonna go out for the team, you better start practicing now because the tryouts are 2 months from now. You know, that's me, right, as the mom.
Yeah.
And my son, who has adaptability, number one, which is the one that goes with the flow, procrastinator.
Right.
It'll happen tomorrow, mañana, mañana, mañana. You know, that one, right?
Yes.
He's like, whatever, I'll get to it. You know, and that just makes me absolutely bananas. But when I figured out that that was why,
Right.
it made sense. I was like, oh, okay,
Wow.
so he's going to get it done, but he's going to get it done the night before. I'm going to get it done, but I'm going to get it done 2 months ahead of time.
Yes.
Right? And we could both be very successful, but we're going to get there in a whole different way because of based on our talents.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that made me understand him better.
Wow.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and that made me
'cause I can see
understand
why
why.
you're so frustrated.
Yeah, why I'm so frustrated with this kid. I want to like strangle him, you know.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? What do you mean?
I would have had this done 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you still don't have it done.
Exactly.
Let's do it tomorrow.
I know.
Like it's-
Well, that was making me crazy with his college applications because, you know, he was like the last second, you having to push the button at 11:59 when it was due at midnight, you know, and I'm like, you know, like having a nervous breakdown.
Oh my gosh.
So you can imagine
Yes.
that would help you get along with someone better.
Yes,
Because
totally.
you understand them better, you know.
Right. Yeah, so now it just saves a lot of interest before it's due. Interest on the trouble.
Yeah.
You know, like you're worrying, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, that's all interest in it. Then
Yeah.
You can take that interest away now.
Right,
So you
and-
just get the raw problem.
Right, and it also helps with couples. A lot of times couples will take it together, which I think is phenomenal for marriages or relationships because when you have a common vocabulary that you can talk to someone with, I mean, talk about being able to communicate better and
Yeah.
understand each other better,
Yes.
right? Because then you understand, oh, this is why, you know, you need to do this, and this is why I need to do this, and this is why I, you know, need my space time because I'm a deep thinker and I'm a learner and I love to absorb and learn, and you don't need that. You know,
Right.
you're something totally different. So
Right.
this is why it helps people get along better.
We're adding another view to this. Keep talking because I think it's perfect with relationships.
Yeah, it's great for relationships. I really think, you know, it's of the benefit to couples, families, you know, corporate situations, volunteer groups, you name it.
Right.
This is something that could be beneficial to anyone,
Right.
students, anyone.
Yes. I mean, I totally see that, and I think, I mean, I totally think, like I said, anybody should definitely jump on this. I mean, I didn't think about relationships. You're naming a lot of things I wasn't thinking about. I was just, you know, you had mentioned schools, and I went off on a tangent on schools.
Yeah.
But then every subject you mentioned, oh, relationships. You know, because imagine if you had a relationship where somebody was a procrastinator, and the other person is, I mean, and they've been married for 20 years.
Right.
That's 20 years of frustration because you just don't understand that they're going to get it done in their own way.
Right.
But all of this, you know, nagging and frustration, it's
Right. It's going to be a lot of fights.
Right.
Right. A lot of tension.
right. So the quicker, if you're in a relationship and you feel it's like that, or you understand what we're saying, go take that test, both of y'all. That way you can just relieve some tension. Because pressure
That's
bust
right.
pipes.
That's right.
Yeah, get some of that pressure. Relieve some of the pressure.
Exactly. But sometimes you also learn that somebody you're with can be a good partner for you because they are different than you are. I had this one woman that I was coaching, and she was in a situation where she was a deliberative, which is the one that's very cautious. They see all the risk that's around them or in a situation, and they want to minimize that risk, but they need time to absorb it. So they will not answer you quickly. They have to take it in, ponder it, think about it, deliberate about it, which is why it has that name.
Right.
And then come to a conclusion. And once they do, they're fine and they're off, right?
Right.
But they're going to take you a long time to get there. If they're buying a car, it could take them 5 months to figure out which car it is, but it's going to be the best darn car they ever had, right? But that's how they are.
That's Chad. It's my
There you
roommate.
go. There's Chad.
He cannot give you a straight answer. It's like, so what do you think the best movie ever was? Well, it 5 months later, he'll give his answer. But he has to know. Like,
he has to think about it.
Yes, he has to think about.
Look at all the options.
Yes, I need all the options.
Yes.
I need to know everything is here.
Right, exactly. So sometimes those people, at the negative side of it could be, oh, they take forever, they just never move, blah, blah, blah. Well, a good partner for that person is an activator. And an activator is somebody who is not so worried about getting the job done. They just want to get started. They just want to move. Like, all right, enough thinking already. Just go.
Yes.
Do it. Just do it, right?
Yes.
Like the Nike.
Yeah.
They're the Nike people, right?
Yes.
So that's a great partner for them because a deliberative could take a whole year to figure it out, but the activator is pushing them a little bit.
Right.
Move along, come on,
Right.
let's go.
Right.
So this woman happily was married to an activator.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, this is a great partnership for you. But if you don't have that, look for somebody in your life who is an activator.
Right, okay.
Somebody who would nudge you along, you know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
I often tell people that it's great if once you figure out what your talents are, and you figure out what's a good partner for you, is to kind of look for that person and to if you can find someone who holds you accountable. Not someone who's going to harass you, give you a hard time, make you feel bad. But if you have a goal, say, and you're working on it, and you have somebody in your life who kind of touches base with you every week. Hey, you said you were going to read those 3 books. Did you check them out from the library?
Right.
Just to check in on you. Sometimes that's enough to get you moving,
Right.
to get you going. To have somebody who's kind of looking over your shoulder or nudging you along can be valuable.
Yes.
And a lot of these people who come into this program or are interested in this program is because they're either in a job transition or a life transition, or they have some major goal that they're trying to meet. So this helps people kind of figure out how to do that, how to use their talents to get them to be successful.
Right.
That's the whole point.
I don't know. I love it. I keep thinking of so many analogies, like a track. Like if somebody was, born to run track, but they only ran just when it was necessary throughout their life. But if they would have produced that, if they would have, worked on that raw material and found that out early, and it would have matured, they could have had, 10 gold medals like Carl Lewis. He had to find that talent early and work on it.
Right.
And versus somebody who's a swimmer and they are forced into track. Everybody needs this. They do. I think it's so valuable. I think that's awesome that you're doing this now. Some other things. I know you did other things other than this. So you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Where'd you grow up? Where you from?
Gosh, well, born in New York City, in Manhattan.
Okay, Manhattan.
Manhattan.
Wow. Okay.
Upper West Side. My father was going to Columbia at the time.
Okay. Wow.
And then we moved to Ohio, so I grew up in Ohio. My dad went to work for Procter & Gamble. And
Okay.
He was actually a brand manager for Pringles and
Okay.
a bunch of other things like that. He was like
Yeah.
one of the guys who started that stuff.
Okay. Wow. So he
Ivory
was in
Soap,
Procter.
Pringles.
He started some of the marketing things that they do at Procter. Because I have a friend there, and they own like 500 different.
Oh, they have all
thousands,
kinds of stuff.
all kinds of brands.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we moved to Ohio, so I spent a lot of my growing up years there. We left Ohio when I was about 16, moved to Virginia.
Well, now, what part of Ohio?
We were in Dayton primarily, but we spent some time in Cincinnati, a little bit of time in Columbus, and a little bit of time in
Columbus.
Cleveland.
One of my best friends, Rick, he was from Columbus. His dad was a fire chief there in Columbus for a while. But yeah.
Well, it's crazy. Once I moved here to Charlotte, I have met more Ohioans than anywhere else I've ever lived. I lived in 7 different states.
Oh,
I have moved 17 times.
You said New York, and then you had Ohio.
Well, I wasn't getting to the rest of it. But anyway, I have moved 17 times. And in all the times I've moved, more Ohioans in Charlotte than anywhere else I've been. It's crazy.
So how are you an introvert when you meet all these people? Because every time you go somewhere, I mean, you can't know everybody. You know?
No.
Everybody gets to know you, I'm sure.
Well, I
Wow.
mean, I'm friendly,
Right.
but I also am sort of shy, and it's